So I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:31. Dan and Zon Estes, recognizing our public here tonight. Rules of procedure will waive until our unruly crowd comes in, and then we might go and talk about it. Are there additions to the agenda this evening?
Not for me.
Not here.
None. Are there changes to the agenda order?
Not from me.
And the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of July 8th, 2019?
I so move.
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to general
Sign these,
highway
please.
update, sir?
Just grading some roads. We're still working on the backside of Carpenter Hill Road. Hopefully
You'll be there for months.
No, I'm hoping to get it wrapped up towards the end of this week, if not first part of next week. There's a lot of hammering over there to do, so we're gonna start hauling gravel tomorrow. Top dress. About it. Mowing roadsides and just doing our regular routine stuff. So.
Good. We have sand bids.
Yeah.
Do we have them to look at?
You do. So, I don't know if you want to
Did you
explain.
get
We
bids
got-
from two different?
We got two, no, we only got two, which is the minimum we need. Both of them actually ended up submitting corrected bids. But we got one from Sir Sawmill Industries for winter sand for $8 a cubic yard FOB or $10.75 delivery. And then we got one from Zaluzny for $12.50 cubic yard delivered and $8 a cubic yard FOB.
Do we say those again?
Here, would you like to look at it? We got-
Well, I
it's
don't
the-
know. I think everybody would like to have some numbers to, I did.
So, we got these this afternoon.
Yeah.
Dan and I opened them at a bid opening at 1 p.m. So Dan, and he can explain better than me, he prefers to pick up the sand himself instead of have it delivered. They both gave us the same price, which happened last year. Last year, Dan recommended splitting the bid between both companies. They both have slightly different types of sand that work for different purposes. And I believe that's what he's recommending this
I
year.
would like to split both pits this year again.
And it's fine for us to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Both companies were happy about it last year.
One of the contractors, he said, if you want to split it, I mean, split it, so it works out good for us.
Do I hear a motion?
I so move that we split the bids.
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Updating town highway road and bridge standards. So we got a form to fill out. We have, none of the items are circled.
Because you guys need to make your decision
Right.
whether you're going to approve.
And we have a number of points that you brought up with us.
Do you want me to give a very brief background on it?
I would like that because, or Dan, because I have a bunch of questions on your summary notes, so I don't know who should.
So over the past couple of 2 years, one step backwards. So VTrans updates the town and road and bridge standards every 10 years. We are currently at year number 7, but with the Department of Environmental Conservation's implementation of the Municipal Roads General Permit because of Act 64, there were some conflicts between the Municipal Roads General Permit and the VTrans Town Road and Bridge Standards. Because of that, the two different state departments decided to take a step that's unusual for our state and collaborate on doing something together.
Editorial comment.
And as such, they drafted a new town road and bridge standards 3 years early. And this is something that the town needs to, there's certain sections that we are required to adopt on all hydrologically connected road segments, which is this phrase you're going to hear a lot of. We've already been hearing a lot of over the past year. And the other sections, the select board can choose to adopt that for the non-connected road segments. However, if the town already has an ordinance that in place that meets or exceeds those standards, we can skip those non-required sections. After reading our current standards and consulting with Dan, some of our standards are higher than the recommended standards for the state, and Dan would prefer to keep them that way, correct?
So that would be an Appendix C.
So because of that, with this new adopted standard, we would have to include our previously adopted standard, as Sheila said, and it now becomes a part of this as an appendix.
And do we have an appendix to review in comparison to what we're signing or not? Because we have these yes or no to indicate town adoption, but when you're talking about our roads that are meeting higher standards than theirs, is it section 1, section 6, section 7?
I really haven't had a chance to look at it again lately,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, it's sort of got to go by their standards, and our standards are above theirs, you know, try to combine them both together.
But ours is supposed to appear in an appendix.
Correct, so
So don't we
appendix
just-
A and B for this document
Are the states.
are the states.
Right.
And both of those appendices were specific drawings of how a road crew is supposed to create a stone line ditch, as well as grass-lined ditches, and I forget what the third item was. So there simply were drawings with explanations of what each drawing meant. So then, per this sentence at the beginning of the new standard, which you guys saw, ours would be Appendix C, because we already had existing standards. Because not every town already had standards in place.
So how many how many standards do we have that are more stern than the ones that the state is requiring?
Well, from my understanding.
That have to be appendices.
Well, I think the entire document will be the appendix, because you
So-
had already adopted, the select board had previously adopted.
Maybe you can rephrase this. So we have 7 responses that we are required to make. Section 1, municipal road standards. Section 2, class 4 road standards. Section 3, perennial stream, bridge and culvert standards. Section 4, intermittent stream crossing. Section 5, roadway construction standards. Section 6, guardrail standard, and Section 7, driveway access standard. I understand that some of our standards exceed the state standards in some of those 7 categories,
Yes.
or in other categories?
It would be all in the
All
7.
in those. So if we indicate town adoption of each one of these standards, it means we accept the state standards. So what standards are we adopting? What standards are we saying we would rather keep our existing standards, which are higher than state requirements?
Well, some of the state requirements we're gonna have to follow anyways, like all your stone line ditching, that's gonna be a given.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna want to see a lot of stone line ditching to keep the settlement out of the road. The bridge and standard ones, we've already got set anyways.
So which ones of ours exceed
Well-
the state standards? Do we know?
Our roadway construction standard,
Yeah.
our guardrail standard, and our driveway standard all exceed.
Oh, so
state
those are the
requirements.
ones that have to go in an appendix.
Yeah, which is just our existing standards. We don't need to
Oh,
make any changes.
they're already done, it's already been done.
Correct.
But it's just not clear what we are submitting, or when I was reviewing this document, I did not know if we would have to answer yes or no on which one. So it seems to me that on sections 5, roadway construction standards, 6, guardrail standards, and driveway access standards, we have to answer no and then say see Appendix C for our standards, which exceed the state requirements.
Correct,
Is that
which this document already shows up at the top from what I because I indicated that it was already previously adopted on May the 13th of 2013.
Right, but we don't have those. And we didn't, I mean, maybe we do someplace,
It was
but the
in-
select board doesn't have those standards.
I included it in the documents. So that is just.
I'm sorry, I didn't see.
That is
Wasn't
just
that-
our existing town road and bridge standards, which I provided a copy of.
Okay,
A lot of that stuff we upgraded after Irene come through because it needed to be upgraded because the state changed their standards.
Peter, I'm sorry, I don't see it, so maybe you can
So-
show me
It's
in the,
title, which I can show you.
Is it the
It's the
2013 road
You might need to scroll
and
up,
bridge
please.
standards?
Yes, that is correct, Brenda, right here. That is our existing standards, and that, because that was previously
Okay.
adopted, that would be included as, in its entirety as the appendix. And then per the introductory letter from V-Trans and the Department of Environmental Conservation, the three standards that you must adopt are 1, 2, and 3. The other, and that's for the hydrologically connected streams. 1 and 2 are optional for non-connected segments, and then 4 through 7 are optional in their entirety if our current standards exceed. And as I stated in my message to the select board, our current standards for 4 through 7 exceed what they, like Dan said, because of Irene, the select board at that time increased the standards the town had. Does that make sense?
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't find anywhere to track which sections we would say no on, which sections we would say yes on.
Sure, maybe I could have been a little clearer, my apologies.
So if we say no on 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then do we refer then to certain sections of the 2013 standards?
Correct.
And when we sign this document, we don't actually, we have section C, appendix C, but it's not highlighted yet, or so noted that these are, these are the standards.
So,
I'm just trying to make sure that we don't send an appendix that says, even though we said yes on some, because we send a different appendix, it's gonna say
so
something different from what
my
the state's
understanding
requiring.
of reading this, as well as talking to Megan when she sent us the draft back in March, is that if the town says no on any of the optional ones, sections here, it is, because of the beginning of this document, it's automatically assumed then, by the way it's written, that the town already has standards in place that meet or exceed those standards, and that they will automatically be included.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah, it does. I just didn't know if that was enough clarification, so.
Per what V-Trans is asking, for
Okay.
them, that is enough.
And Dan, you're happy with that?
Yep.
So, I had a couple other questions. Did other people have questions on this, or? So you asked a number of questions in your notes.
I did.
And I wonder if adoption means we are automatically assumes that Guilford complies, or do people check us out? Does,
They come around and check things.
okay,
Or the state does it.
so
Yeah.
it's not a,
No.
okay. Then you said standards for all construction and soil disturbing activities. How will this be reinforced? What if weather prohibits this from happening? What if any other repercussions if it doesn't happen? Do we have any answers to those questions? Do we care?
My personal opinion is I don't know that caring matters, because for this section, we're obligated to adopt it regardless. So I don't know what caring is going to do. And at the time, I mean, yeah, so I haven't received any responses to these, so, and I
And
don't know.
Did you ask the select board, Danny, or V-Trans on this?
I have spoken with V-Trans on the phone about it, and I did, I went over to the garage one day and I was talking with Dan and Alan and Dickie about these things, and had a kind of a good chuckle because they're mandated, but we already know that the state doesn't have the manpower to reinforce. So, for example, the section we're talking about right now, Dan, is, remember, one of the parts in here says that with within 5 days of disturbing soil that it needs to be
They
reseeded.
want it seeded and hayed.
Yeah, and hay.
Every time you disturb it, they want it re-hayed and reseeded again.
Oh, yes.
You know, so like, today would be a perfect example. The guys are working over on Carpenter Hill and are obviously disturbing soil, and then we had a downpour this afternoon.
couldn't.
Yeah.
How is that possible? You know, and we're predicted to get rain tomorrow too, so.
So V-Trans puts out these requirements and then doesn't figure out
How actual people operate.
or,
I think a lot of it's like to do with a lot of when you're working near a brook or a stream bed, they want to try to keep much of the silt out of the stream as they can. That's why we're doing all these stone line ditching. It's for that reason.
so it sounds like if there's that kind of regulation in there, that they could take action if they find that
They
there's
could
some
if they
egregious
saw a real big
issue,
problem, yeah.
But otherwise, they're probably gonna let it go.
Yeah.
All right, so the second thing was standards for gravel and paved roads. What if a road does not physically have space to permit the required ditching practice?
So Part B recommends that, just to remind you, Dan, that if it's a stone line ditches has to be a minimum of 2 feet wide and 1 foot deep, you know, all those things. And so my question is,
What
what
are you
if,
gonna get at the ditches we've
Exactly.
been doing? I'm gonna have to take people's property and widen the road out. They just want a stone line ditch there to try to catch all the settlement from keeping it out of the river.
So these are aspirational guidelines, is what you're saying?
Yeah, what you're doing is say, do the best you can, what you got to work with.
Until somebody really messes up and then they can get you for not doing the best
Well,
that you need to
well, if
do.
they wanna, look how much time we've been spending hammering ledge up there.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, that's a good thing we got a hammer, because it'd really be costing some money.
is that gonna affect the culvert installations?
Well, your culverts are all the same size. You put them, oversize them.
And then there's something here that says, it appears that all driveway culverts on hydrologically connected road segments will require
head walls
head walls and stone
or
aprons
stone
or
aprons?
plunge pools. If
That's what we've
replaced,
been doing anyways. We put headers around everything.
so it's on the town, not a property owner?
Everything
Okay,
is, yeah.
that's fine. And then maintenance.
But it's now gonna be, I know you guys have been doing it, it's now gonna be mandated that we
We've
have
been
to do
doing it for
that.
years anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Okay, I just wondered if this was something that was gonna affect property owners and the driveway ordinance.
Yeah, when they put their culvert in, they gotta do it to that way.
So how is that something that we need to, do we need to revise it's the road, the highway ordinance, right? To reflect this?
That's already in our highway ordinance. Part of it,
Head walls and stone aprons or plunge pools?
yep.
Could I just ask, what is, I mean, I can make up what a head wall is, but what's
That's a
a...
header.
Okay, I get
That's the
that.
inlet end of the culvert.
And a stone apron and a plunge pool?
The stone apron is when you get done putting the culvert in, on the outlet end, you put some stone in there. You dig down, you make a little pool and fill it in with stone, so
Oh,
when the
okay.
settlement comes in, it hits that little pool and the dirt builds up there, and then the water just leaches out over the top of the stone.
I see. And plunge pool?
That's what that plunge.
Oh,
plunge
okay.
is.
So, Melody Hill, driveways comply with this?
Those are all grandfathered. They've been in for years.
But it's.
So we don't have to go around every culvert now and do that. It's when you
It's-
replace them,
Yeah.
is when you do it.
When the property owner replaces?
No, once the culvert is in, it belongs to us, then we maintain it. That's our standard.
So what he's saying is, we don't have to go through town and replace every driveway
No.
culvert. It's only in the event that is a driveway culvert needs to be replaced, they need to then bring it up to standard.
They, the town.
Being the road crew of the
Okay,
town
I
of
just want to make
Guilford.
sure that this is not a requirement of property owners.
No. No.
If I put a
What's
new
it?
driveway on my property,
All right, once the culvert goes in, the landowner pays for it when he's putting his driveway in, then the culvert belongs to us. Because 90% of your homeowners around here are not gonna maintain their own culvert.
Mhm.
That's why we do it, because once they get in, we maintain them and then we do it the way it's
Okay.
supposed to be done.
so this is, there's no impact on
No.
residents?
No,
Okay,
no.
just want to make sure that we don't need to revise the ordinance there. And then you observed Peter, that this will double the amount of work, the stone check dam specifications that
Yeah,
the
so-
road crew already has with culvert cleaning.
So part of the, in doing the stone line ditching, I don't remember the distance between, but there's need to install these stone check dams. It's basically a pile of stone in the middle of it to prevent all the soil from going downstream. This new standard requires that they're supposed to technically go around in the fall and pull all the stone check dams out. So in the spring, they already have enough work going and cleaning culverts, doing a bunch of other spring work. This would also mean then that in the spring, they would have to go back and replace all those stone check dams of every stone line ditch that we have in town, and that with these new MRGP standards, they're estimating that 50% of the roads in Guilford will require these stone line ditches.
And is anybody making comment to V-Trans that this is,
Oh, they are,
Oh,
they already know how I
everyone.
feel about that. It's a waste of money as far as I'm concerned.
The state government day that I attended, that VLCT put on, in which we went to the State House and spoke with our representatives, what the section that I was asked to attend related specifically to this thing. And unanimously, every person that spoke on the topic was just like Dan, and completely opposed to it because it inordinately increases the amount of work of road crews
Yeah.
in every town in the state, and it was still passed as part of the regulation.
Stone line ditching works good, like on your blacktop roads like we did down here at the end of School Road. That works perfect because you're not getting gravel or silt in it.
yep,
The ditching they did last year on Sweets Pond, it's all silted in already. I mean, this fall, if we get time, we're gonna have to go take the check dams out and try to clean the stone where we can. Because
so,
what happens, where every place where you get a check dam in the wintertime, when that water freezes, then you're creating a dam.
yeah,
And then that water comes down and hits that dam, then it kicks it out, and then
Yeah.
it's going down your road.
So
So
I-
when you're plowing in the springtime or in the wintertime, you know, you're not plowing like a blacktop road where it's plowing clean, you're plowing, trying to carry, you're getting gravel.
Right.
So it's all going over in that stone line ditching, and it don't take long for it to get full.
so my understanding is that the Guilford Road Crew does the best that it can do to comply with these standards, but we don't meet them 100%.
Right.
And if we don't, does that mean that they would contest our eligibility to receive the additional 5% in ERAF funding?
I don't think so.
I don't,
They got bigger fish to fry than coming around checking on a little town like us on making sure we're doing the stone line ditching right.
and if they're doing that to Guilford, that means they're gonna be doing it to the
Everybody.
other 250 additional towns in the state on top of Guilford, and they clearly don't have the employee power to do that.
No, I understand that, I just feel like they're setting towns up to be vulnerable
Sure.
in case they,
And it sounds, Dan, as if there's no way that the people who really understand what it takes to maintain gravel roads, that those people have no effective way of voicing their opposition to this and being heard by V-Trans. I mean, by the people who are making these standards. You know, we have an unusual amount of, gravel road as opposed to paved road. So this would affect, 60 miles of
Over
road?
60 miles.
Right.
well,
If the camera wasn't on, I'd tell you exactly what I think about the idiots who designed that.
so I think that probably won't get us anywhere. Will not move this conversation or the motion along, and I think what we are seeing is, may I have that, please?
You
Peter?
may, indeed.
Is that I will entertain a motion to approve sections 1, 2, and 3 to say yes to those standards and no to sections 4, 5, 6, and 7, with the understanding that we will attach our Appendix C, which indicates that we meet or exceed the minimum standards.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Michael, thank you. Are there any other comments?
I don't think so.
Moans and groans, probably.
Yeah, right. So I'll circle these and we'll sign and, oh, sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. While we're signing it, I'm going to say that I would entertain a motion that premature knowledge of discussions, personnel discussions, could potentially put the town at significant disadvantage, so.
Oh,
we'd like-
excuse me, Sheila, I was just wondering whether since, I didn't recommend a change in order to the agenda, but as the Rec Commission is here, I wondered whether, out of respect for their time, we could handle the Rec Commission issue before going into executive session.
I think we might be able to do that after this executive session.
Oh, okay.
The executive session started, it was put in so, because Dan is still here, so that way he can.
Okay, sorry.
home for the day.
No, I get it.
Sorry, Eric and Wendy.
No, all good.
You gonna so move, Richard?
I so moved.
And I shall second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session at 6:57 PM and invite Dan Zambreski and Peter Root to join us to discuss personal matters per 1 VSA Section 313A1.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
I got
That's a
Michael.
chorus.
I got
Okay,
Michael on
that's
that one.
fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Should we step out since there's additional people here today?
We can do that.
Does this need more than your
Needs
signatures?
other
Yes,
signatures.
all of you need to sign that.
So we are exiting executive session at 7:13 PM. And I would entertain a motion that we make an offer to for a new road crew member contingent upon that person successfully passing a background check and the drug test as mandated by law.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Miranda. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Miranda, you asked that we
Entertain
both
the Rec Commission,
the website update and the Rec Commission grant.
yeah.
Move those into, bye Dan,
Bye,
thank you.
Dan, thank you.
Bye-bye.
So
So,
we will need a motion to make that change since
so
we've
Randy's
already.
gonna,
Yes, I move that we change the order of the agenda to accommodate the Rec Commission grant and the website update.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
So, I guess the Rec Commission grant would be up first, but that's just a formality, right?
That was primarily to, so as you've been finishing the grant application, Wendy, and I know that in trying to continue this saga of complying with our insurance company's requirements for the playscape, that you had included in the grant proposal the construction of a permanent sign to post the rules and regulations of this space as well as other things that may be pertinent. And so when you and Eric were here last time presenting this to the select board, that was not part of the discussion. So I just wanted you guys to be able to come and explain that, and as well as hopefully give an explanation of where you anticipated funds for that, because as I understood, and I could have a misunderstanding, that the grant was limited at 50-50 match at $3,000, correct?
It's up to $25,000.
Oh, it's up,
That's
I didn't realize it was,
the total that is available.
oh, okay. But yeah, I wanted you, just because it
So I'm
wasn't
sorry,
part.
does that mean that if we authorized in the last meeting a $3,000 match, that you would then repay the town? I can't remember the exact terms of that if you were to increase, what is it, let's say 2,400 or something like that for the trailhead sign, that your amount would go to 34,200, whatever, And your grant and you would get an equal grant?
I can't recall what was approved at
Yeah.
our last meeting, but I do have a current application. I made copies if you'd all like to review.
Sure.
I have it, so you don't need to.
I haven't had a chance to open it up
I
today.
added a few other documents or forms if you'd like to review it. You're
Thank you.
welcome to.
Wow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Wendy.
You're
So,
welcome.
a lot of this we've seen, right? I don't want to make,
This is the application. Is it okay if I sit
Of
down?
course, absolutely. Eric, do you want to come up too?
Yeah, sure.
So this application is due on July 31st, so we're getting down to
It's getting down to the
last
wire, yeah.
stages. And now we're just only waiting for a few additional letters of support. And we'll be able to submit it by the deadline. In this, I did include under on number 5 on the front page, total amount requested is $9,260.50. And so the amount that we would have to raise is $4,630.25. And on the 4th page, I broke it down into what those numbers reflect. And I included the bid from Bernie LaRocque and Sons, which was approved at the last time we were here to do the excavation jobs. That was a total of $6,755. The welcome sign and kiosk was a new addition since our last meeting, and it's something that just needs to happen, and it was going to be a volunteer job. Michelle Frazee had offered to pay for all the materials and build it and install it, and I just felt like this would be a great opportunity for us, since we're working on enhancing the playscape, to add this to the grant so that we aren't asking volunteer to pay out a lot of personal funds
I think that's very
and labor.
wise.
And so
Excuse me.
the dollar amount came as I was looking online for different ideas for what a kiosk might cost and what we might look at as far as payment for a kiosk. And so I included in your packet a picture of one that I found that was used by some Vermont state parks. It's this image here, and then on the page behind it was the dollar amounts. Timber Homes Vermont is the company, and single unit was $2,400, and that's excluding loading, delivery, and shipping. It's excluding site preparation and installation. So I shared this with Michelle and several other members of the Playscape, and she said, well, if we're going to be spending this money, why don't we do it locally? And her husband Robin was willing to take the job on, and so that's where that dollar amount came from. And also in this packet is a picture of a diagram that was submitted by Robin Frazee, and it includes a diagram of the kiosk that he would build and the materials. The idea is that it would be not only a sign stating what it is, it would also be an opportunity for us to list the rules of the Playscape, which we've collaborated on with the Playscape committee, and they're posted now just on the telephone pole. So we really would love to have something that's a lot nicer, and also to include information about the other recreational opportunities in the Guilford Center Village, including the library, the Andrew Weeks Forest, the one-room schoolhouse, the Historical Society, and the Broadbrook Community Center. All of those groups could have some information on this kiosk, and so this would sort of act as like a opportunity to educate the public and the patrons on all the things that are going on in the village right now. In addition, there was a few, like 105, I believe, extra dollars, and that included the requirement for a handicap accessible sign in the parking lot, and also an enter sign and an exit sign for the parking lot, and then the cost of the lumber for those to be posted on.
Good idea.
So I'm just looking up. So the town, the rec commission needs to match a maximum of $4,630.25. And I'm just looking at how much you have in your fund, which as of January 2019 was basically that amount, not including the $1,500 you have left over from this year's budget. So I know you're planning to raise funds, but you also have a way to, if you don't maximize your fundraising,
Right.
you have a way to help the town. And because we still need to be aware that the town's expression was not to spend money on this. So we're spending money on the mowing, we're spending, and I think you guys are doing a great job, and this is an awesome presentation.
Thank you.
But you have enough money already in your reserve fund if you don't need to use it for anything else to cover this expense, so.
Which is one of the things that the grant application says. It kind of is my personal interpretation, so you can, if you have one different, but it's kind of like extra credit on the application, that if we can show that the town already has funds set aside for the Recreation Commission, that kind of helps their grant application an extra step to show that there's wide support from the entire town for the work that they're doing. And from the select board as well.
Well, and including, excuse me, Sheila, I didn't mean to interrupt. No, I mean, including this additional material, the kiosk, the accessibility signs, the comings and the goings. I mean, these are both requirements. They're the right thing to do. And also the addition on that kiosk of the survey of what people will be doing in Guilford Center. These things go beyond what the original plan was.
Yeah, it greatly expands, that's great.
Yeah.
When are you hoping to do the next phase of excavation?
So once our grant is approved, and once we receive the money, then Bernie LaRocque and his sons will start the work. The parking lot will probably be the first phase, and we hope to gain, we'll have at least 8 parking spots. And one of them has to be wheelchair van accessible, which is 8 feet wide with an additional 8 feet of an aisle. So that's quite a large space, but it's required through the ADA. And so I guess we'll hopefully get as many other parking spots as possible. And then I'm hoping that will connect to the loop trail. And we have an image that Eric made to kind of demonstrate what our vision is. And so, let's see. This is the parking area, right? So Carpenter Hill Road is here, and this is the parking area. And
would you mind showing it to the camera for just a couple seconds?
so the Carpenter Hill Road, and then the parking area would be here, connecting to this loop trail that goes around the perimeter of the park, and that would be accessible to people in a wheelchair or people with strollers for their children, or kids on bikes, or people that just want to walk or jog on the property.
And stay away from ticks.
Exactly. Thank you. So phase 1 would be the parking, and then phase 2 would be the loop around.
Are you hoping to do some of this work before this winter? Or
Hopeful.
yeah,
Yeah, it'd be nice to get it
When
done
is
in the
when do they
fall.
announce the grants?
That is a really good question. I couldn't
We don't
find
know.
it in the literature.
You couldn't find it?
I don't know an answer for that.
So is this going to be named the Eric Jones and Wendy Stone Recreational?
Madam Chair, I have a question about this.
Sir?
Is it okay for us to assign this $2,400 to an individual?
So, yeah, I didn't want to be a downer, but so I was going to bring that up, per the town procurement policy, due to the cost of that, technically it needs to go to bid.
A $2,400 because it's over 2,000?
It's over 1,500.
But don't we have that other,
As I was, yes.
oh, you were going to say?
I was going to get there.
Okay,
So,
never mind, okay.
We do, within the town procurement policy, we do have the ability for the select board to assign a sole source vendor. And that, right now, might be an applicable time for that, simply because we don't have time before the 31st of July to put out a bid and get bid results for this project. I think it also fits in with the point that Wendy and Eric are trying to make this a Guilford project, and Brandon Rock and Son already have part of the project, and
How much Michelle and Robin have already
right, and how
contributed.
much they've done a lot of work
Yeah.
already, and Robin's a local carpenter, and so. But that's a decision that the select board.
So
would
we have to state that, don't we?
You'd have to actually make a motion.
I think they're two
separately.
separate motions.
Yes.
Yes,
And the first would be to go sole provider
Correct.
on the installation of the, construction and the installation of the trailhead sign. I'm going to stop right
should
there.
the grant be approved.
Should the grant be approved, thank you.
Are you asking for a motion?
I am.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any more discussion?
It's a good idea.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the second motion would be to revise our approval of the initial grant application
Correct.
and to expand it to the amount of matching grant of $4,630, a maximum, not to exceed $4,630.25.
I so move.
Thank you.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
And I want to just ask Peter if you have not already provided the letter of support from the select board?
I haven't, I waited because of this.
If you have time to do it before you go on vacation.
I will. So Wendy and I already emailed about this earlier today, and I said, pending select board decision tonight, that I would send all of her relevant information to her tomorrow.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
you're good.
Yes, thank you.
Great.
Yay.
And
Excellent.
thank
Thank
you
you
so
for putting
much.
together
Thank
this
you.
package.
Yes.
You're welcome. I just want to acknowledge that we do have a lot of volunteers that are working through the Playscape Committee and on the Rec Commission. So while we're the ones here promoting this, there are a lot of other people that are working hard on it too.
Well, and we should also mention that to our studio audience, to Guilford out there, that the Rec Commission is convening the community picnic this Saturday, rain or shine, 11 to 1 on the Playscape. So people can come and see all of what is in process there and come and bring a covered dish. The Rec Commission is going to be providing basic sandwich materials
Yes.
and
Beverages.
and delightful games.
Activities, yep.
And it would be a great opportunity for people to see what's going on and even to bring a modest donation or a large one to help the Rec Commission meet the match for this grant.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, what is that date?
It would be Saturday, August.
No.
Oh,
July.
it's still July, sorry.
Thank
July
goodness.
27th, thank you.
July 27th,
11?
11 to 1 at the Guilford Playscape. And do you want to tell people just a tiny bit, briefly, how to get there?
Yeah, it's just up the road from the library, the Guilford Free Library. and it's on the right-hand side.
It is now listed on Google Maps,
Oh, cool.
so I added that, so it's a little easier to find.
Great.
It's 70 Carpenter Hill Road is the address. So you can put that in on your Google.
I have a question. Have you spoken to Judy Bruno?
No.
So I would suggest that you, this is coming from a grant background, my
Okay.
grant background, that you
Okay.
call Judy
Okay.
and introduce yourself to her. I can give you her number.
How about Richard, why don't you send it to
Okay.
me and I'll share it with them.
Okay, and then what you're calling for is to find out when the grant decisions are made. But in the meantime, you have a time to introduce yourself and
Okay.
schmooze her up a little bit.
Wonderful. Good suggestion. Thank
So
you.
share that with me and I'll give it to both of
Okay.
them. And I just also wanted to thank Wendy and Eric, just so the select board knows, they were working on finalizing all this material for you guys today after work prior to coming to the select board meeting. And so just to show their dedication and effort, I wanted you guys to know about that.
Thank you.
Really?
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Welcome.
Okay.
Thank you guys for all
Thank
your
you
help
very
and
Yes.
support.
Eric, you might as well stay here.
Yeah, don't
Okay,
move.
doke.
So we have, I put on Front Porch Forum and Facebook that we have a new website, but we're going to see it live tonight.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yippee, you mean multimedia?
This is it.
Yay.
Just give us,
This is a first.
I know,
hope
and
that.
we're hoping that with, that we can do this with meetings, so when you have select board members who are not present. Oh, do we need to turn the lights on?
Peter, do you want some of the lights on?
Because it's white and
yeah.
green, isn't it?
I think
Yes.
we have a gentleman
just
here.
So over
the
there.
first, no, other one. There we go.
Okay.
And it will come up, we have to let the bulb warm up a little here.
That's what they say about the cameraman.
Now, Eric, do you want to do the driving? You want to just chat and point things out? How would you like to do this?
You can, I'll let you do that, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I have a mouse, I can hook into that if you want to, but essentially, the town had a website. It's was a little outdated, wasn't really, wasn't mobile friendly, which was one of the main things. It has a lot of data, you know, it's a lot of documents in there. There's a lot of information in the website. And so essentially trying to take all that information and sort of reformat it and reorganize it into a little more of a modern situation. So that's what the task was. The home site here is basically the same information on it that the old site had, with the addition of, you know, an easy click Vermont alert.
Thank you for that,
For,
as your EMD person.
Yeah, you know, keeping people in the know about emergencies. So that's the point there. Announcements at the bottom. These are all essentially blog posts that, you know, give the public, you know, an update on what's going on in town. So don't
So the
overclog your
comments
toilet.
thing is new. It wasn't there a couple days ago, right?
The what?
0 comments?
Yeah, this is a little bit of a different look. I got rid of what, you know, I worked on again this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was
so,
like, I just looked at it last weekend.
it was a little bit different before, but this is, now it's a Gutenberg, if you want to know the technical details. I got rid of what was a Beaver Builder, and
So people could read cloggers and somebody could write a comment.
yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
How would we know?
would get a notification.
I would get a notification that someone's made a comment for approval.
Uh-huh.
You can also remove that if that's something that. So if you click on the announcement, which you did, here's this information about, you know.
Whatever
Well-
you're not supposed to flush into public.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Or-
cloggers were the dancers.
I have to say that I did too.
Yeah.
This is
But
for
these are
both.
cloggers too.
This is for private septic systems or public water
Yeah,
systems.
I would think it would be for both. So it's a great announcement. You know, it gives information about, you know, help the public know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a PDF.
Yep, and
Which
so
can
there's,
Go ahead.
yeah, there's a PDF embedder And so you can hit the full screen button there, and it kind of gives a full size so you can actually see
Oh,
it.
mercy.
On your phone, it's really, on your mobile device, because a lot of times the font is too small and such, so you can expand that. And also you can, with the fingers, you can zoom in on it,
Mhm.
out, move around.
Do we want comments on things like topics like this? I mean, does that create work for Peter that he doesn't have time for? Or?
Yeah,
I'm just
we'll
asking.
have to-
decision
I think,
for
yes,
you all
I think
to
it's a
figure
good
out,
question,
you
and
know.
we've talked a little bit about how much,
I could see this getting out of control pretty quick,
yeah.
like this particular topic.
So if you can hit that again, and you just get out of
Mhm.
that view. The sidebar has, other blog posts that are relevant. The most recent ones are under news. At the top, I think, just a little, here's an archive. So you can search by month, all the old announcements.
So for example, if you're gonna look at the cemetery commission minutes, so this is the most recent cemetery commission minutes that have been posted, but if you say wanted to know what the cemetery commission was doing back in, say, May of this year, Eric put this in, so all of the items, the minutes that were posted for all the various commissions, as you can see, in the month of May will be listed here. And
That's
so
great.
there's a cemetery minutes from May. So you don't have to search through 3 months of cemetery minutes just to get back to the one that you want.
Because everybody is dying to know what happened.
Will you play the select board minutes and show how that
Yep.
looks for BCTV?
So here's another filter view, so you can do by commission. You can go in there.
So we're gonna scroll up to the select board and we'll go to the select board minutes. So now, as this loads here, these are all select board minutes for the past year. So if you're looking for something that happened, like I said, in May or January or something, you don't want to keep just scrolling endlessly through
But
all
that's what
the.
I wanted everybody to see. It has the video link and the minutes.
Oh, that's great.
So you can refer the minutes to the video at the same time.
Wow.
Are you impressed, BCTV?
It's a nice feature.
I'll
and-
make a note of this moment.
Yeah.
We look hard at work.
I mean,
In fact, that was our
Eric,
last meeting.
I've already, used this website, and it really is very navigable.
Mhm.
I mean, I congratulate you on the streamlined activity.
I appreciate that, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of info
There's
in
a
there.
lot.
And it's hard to dig through it, so trying to categorize it in such a
Yeah.
way that makes sense for people.
I have a question
Yeah.
about how you organize the documents, because that was one of the sort of black holes.
Okay,
That's actually one of the sections that Eric and I still need to do a little touching up on. I noticed today when I was getting ready for this meeting. So yes, it is a little bit of a black hole, but
No, I don't
Not a
mean
lot.
this is, I mean before, it was just so hard to just parse it all, just to think, like, where are you going to find such and such?
it was a little spread out, and I brought all the sort of documents and maps into one area, so it can still be filtered more, if it need be, but this is kind of the area for other documents that aren't minutes and agenda type documents.
So I will say that I was referring a group of people to the last year's town plan, the current town plan, and the link is much neater.
oh yes. So here, let's look at that. So we get-
So I didn't have a two-line link in my,
look
Oh,
at
yeah.
the URL.
Sorry,
It's logical.
yes.
Yeah, it's
It's-
human. It's not a random bit of numbers.
Right, an algorithm,
Whatever,
whatever the hell.
whatever it was before, right?
Yeah. So and you can always use a search bar here. This is a great feature. You can search for basically anything in there. and it'll pull up what you need. And there's a list right there, and then you can go right to it.
Mhm.
It's-
It's a long document, but.
Yeah. we don't
So
have to
I
read it
see
now.
that we have a subscribe to our email newsletter.
Yeah, that was added in. I worked on that this weekend. So I have
Who's gonna do the newsletter?
newsletter
Miranda's
is.
our chief communications officer.
I created an automated newsletter.
Oh,
So basically, what happens is, and in the footer, there's also a subscribe. It the work that you're all doing and the volunteers are doing in the town, you know, are documented in these minutes,
Mhm.
but they may not be, you know, pushed out to the community. So this is sort of the feature that we were hoping to build into this. And so the reason for building a blog style in this fashion allows you, a blog is what's called an RSS feed. So you can extract an RSS feed and put it into a newsletter, and that is an automated process. So it doesn't take any work from anybody. So any new minutes and agenda notes that are added will automatically go home in an email newsletter without any work for people.
that's amazing.
Mm.
And in addition to that, in the calendar, I also added in an RSS feed generator for the calendar. So
That goes into the newsletter then too.
any upcoming events that are coming up in the next 2 weeks will be in the newsletter.
Great.
So people have an idea of what's coming up in addition to what has happened. And at the bottom of the newsletter, which I haven't had time, I did share with Peter this afternoon, but it also includes important dates, which you can expand upon. And there's like tax due dates and town meeting day and things like that. So it gives people a little bit of a heads up on important dates in town.
And we used to have a bit, we being those of us in the office, have a bit to add to this calendar to.
Mhm.
I don't see the
This is-
library meeting on there.
What about
As I
something like
just
the rec
stated, we have a
commission?
bit to add to the calendar.
What about something like the rec commission picnic on Saturday, the 27th?
Yep, we need to add that in.
I'm just saying, it's not a town, well, it is a town event because it's a rec commission.
Yes.
Who has the ability
But
to
if BBCC,
update
for
this?
example, wanted to put
So-
something,
Right now, this is a jointly shared calendar by those of us here in the office through our G Suite product. We can actually share that with the various commissions, since they are part of the town, if they have access, if one of their members has access to Gmail. So technically, the commissions could go in and enter those events in. So I don't know how many people are familiar how to use Google Calendar.
Yeah, and we can also add in a front-end event, you know, like add a new event page where the community could add events, but, you know, you wouldn't want to, you'd have to then kind of go through those and verify them and all that.
Yeah,
and
make sure it's
that's-
not spam.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's complicated on that level, so trying to give back-end access is what Peter's talking
Mhm.
about, to people that, you know, are working for town organizations. So, you know, this will, the beauty of this, and at the bottom, you'll see what's called export events. You can save that to your phone, so you actually can have that right on your phone, on your Apple or Android phone. And other organizations, which I run, Discover Guilford, which is a website, so I can tap into that, and so both this and the community events could also actually be on one calendar in one place where everyone could see both things. But that's a feature that you know, is useful for people that like to have things on their phones or mobile devices.
that is great.
And then, So that's sort of the basics, but then there's, so departments up here, it's a kind of a new way that I organized sort of the town
I really like the way you organized this.
features. What's that?
I said I really like the way you organized this personally.
Yeah, so I did a little research on this and looked at what other communities and towns are doing. So, you know, we have an office here in administration, so here's a link to select board and administrator.
What's copyright and designated agent?
That's a newer feature. So that's, I think that comes from your privacy policy work that you do.
Correct. It's also required by our insurance company as well as because we are a state or municipality, the latter in our case. Federal government requires us to have that information to enable anyone who believes that whether or not the town has content or data that is rightfully theirs,
Infringing on
plagiarized,
their copyright.
Oh, okay.
that, for example, if we theoretically had a link to a video done by BCTV and the town claimed that it was ours and didn't give credit, we could have BCTV contact us through our designated agent
Okay,
stating, you know, you need to give attribution to this or kindly remove it from your website.
okay,
So that's mandated for that to be up there. And
okay.
Yeah, and then so there's that, and then so any financial kind of stuff that you might need to do, taxes and all that is here. You know, planning and development, conservation and planning commissions, public safety and health. So we've, you know, Algiers Highway Department. We've got fire department, health officers, dog officer, all that.
That's very good, I like the way
I
you've
think
done
you need to
that.
put the emergency management on there.
And Guilford Cares, isn't Guilford Cares it's not a town group?
no, they're
It's
private
non-profit.
organization.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
And then community building,
Right,
and that's what that is.
and burying.
Yes. So you both kind of, you know, if you scroll up to the top, there's a
Yeah.
secondary menu, they call it. That's the blue. So here you have your emergency.
Oh,
That's your quick link to the emergency page. It's a reminder about the Vermont alert. It talks about our emergency operations and some documents and links that are related to that. Our emergency shelter.
Good.
And all of, another reminder to sign up for VT alert.
Thanks.
So there's that. So that's just another view of in the menu, and at the top menu again in the blue there, discover Guilford, which is kind of like find out about Guilford in here. So what we have is
right.
about Guilford. So you sort of who we are. Here's Guilford history link, and that kind of gives people an idea of where we've come from, where we started from, where we were, and then scrolling down, there's Discover Guilford, which gives you a link to current events, and then the Guilford Gazette. So these are both local organizations that help you discover what's going on and what's happening and news and stuff. And then back at the top again, thanks Peter for doing this. There's a facts spot, so you know people that are looking for quick answers for things, the elections, which there were in two different spots in the old site. I put them sort of together here,
Great.
so they're all in one spot.
Boy, those are great facts.
Yeah, I mean these were, the content was again already in the old site, but it was you know antiquated in the way that was separated, I believe. So and there's a few more things up there, but there
We'll let
was,
people explore it.
yeah, they're less important. Boards and commissions is pretty straightforward. Services, that's sort of, that might be the last thing we'll just click on, which is, you know, the town office staff. things that they take care of for the community. So there's a list of all the things that, burn permits, driveway permits, things they might need to get done, voting registration. So all that's in there.
Terrific.
And then when you click on any of these, you can just pick. The services, now you're in one of the pieces of services, there's more services on the side.
Oh, that's great.
So you can click through and find others. Every one of these sections does that same thing. It has its own unique sidebar to give you a way to move around a little bit more fluidly. So that's it in a nutshell, and it's mobile friendly. So no matter what the screen size, if you shrink it down, yeah, like Pete's doing here, it just essentially, there's like 256 different screen sizes.
Wow.
Wow.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and so, you know,
Look at that. That's very
It-
nice.
There's a telephone.
There's the cloggers.
completely legible. Yeah, that's the telephone view. And the menu's very nice, and it's still pretty clear,
Yeah.
easy to move around, the search bar right in there. So,
When does this go live? Is it live?
It's-
now?
you're
It's
looking at it
live.
Oh,
It's
yippee.
live.
yeah, and so you can just type in the old address and it'll bring you right to the new site.
And so what's the new address? Just guilfordvermont.com?
I mean, it's really, I think you're keeping guilfordvt.net, but you also have guilfordvt.com as sort
Okay.
of a backup address as well. So you have two, in case you need to do
Look
further
at that.
development on your site. You have a
Very
way to-
neat. Are you looking to Michael?
Yeah.
Because Richard's got his cool.
Richard, do you want to show that?
Show the top.
Yeah.
Let me zoom in here.
The telephone view.
Okay, thank you.
So with this, and there is also a Facebook page that is ready to go, and we get to that point to,
Very neat.
and the newsletter. Those are the last, that's the push of information to the public, and that'll be going out pretty soon. And the training was also included in the contract.
I should
but
subscribe.
I have to say that Peter Root is very talented with this, keeping up on the technology and needing very little training as far as getting going on the WordPress. So,
Awesome.
and that way it's been really great.
Not only does he save us money as a technical advisor, he's also,
Oh, working with Eric has admittedly been very easy. And
Yeah.
he's very quick to respond, and he explains things in a really clear way, and he's very concise, right to the point, doesn't mince his words, and so I appreciate working with him.
Good work, Eric.
Thanks.
I
Very
mean,
good
this
work.
is a
Thank you.
real,
Thanks, Peter. Appreciate
I mean, this is a
No, you are the
real
one that has done all our work.
improvement for, I mean, and it's something we've been thinking about for a long time, and I think, you know, one of the ongoing issues that the public has had with the select board is communication, and anybody who can't communicate with us using this as a point of entry could learn how to do it quickly, let me put it in that positive way.
yes.
Great, well, thank
Eric,
you.
thank
Yeah.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Let
Terrific.
me
Don't
know
forget
if
to
you have
send
any
your invoice
questions
in
or.
quickly. Thank you. Okay, moving along, because otherwise
Yeah.
I'll be in trouble here. Our annual job is to set the tax rate for the town. The tax bills come out pretty soon. We have to wait every year until we get information from the state, and until the whole listing and grievance process is completed. So
I have a package for all of you.
a lot of hard work has been done by Lisa,
Michael.
the listers, and the
No,
town office
entire thing.
staff.
Oh, the entire thing.
Oh, hold on.
Oh.
Wait, sorry. Only one of these here goes to him. Okay, that's for Michael.
This.
Thank you.
Miranda. Richard.
Thank you.
And these are packets that Penny prepared last week.
Yeah, correct. This explains everything that happened in the town office between Lisa, Penny, and myself. All three of us have a part in this to play, and this is kind of the culmination of all of that.
So we have first the town meeting warrant, which set the budget.
That's actually the minutes.
The minutes of the town meeting, which sets the budget for the year 2019, 2020. We have a memo from Wyndham Southeast School Union, which advises us how the school union set the budget for each town. And I will go through that in a minute. Yeah. And then we have the 2019 tax rate calculation. But in short, I just wanted to say that town expenses are divided between our municipal budget, which is the general budget and the highway budget, and the school budget. And the select board has nothing to do with school data or numbers. We just collect the education taxes on behalf of the school, or now on behalf of the union. Our total grand list value is $2,419,243.40. And that is just $29,000 higher than it was in 2018. We have some non-residential exemptions from the grand list, which include Brattleboro Community Center, the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department, the Rec Club, not the Rec Commission, the Guilford Fair Association, and Green River Preservation. So those 5 organizations are exempt from taxes in Guilford. Thank you both.
Thank you, Susan.
Thanks.
We also have veterans homestead exemptions, and those increased by about 40,000. So we went from about 340,000 in 2018 to $380,000 worth of exemptions in taxes. That's not the tax number, that is the value of the property that is taxed. But I am really happy to say that our residence taxes have decreased very little, but they decreased this year by about 1%. We are, I think, I'll wait until we get the numbers. Maybe we'll have some numbers before the end of August, but I think that we are on track for being able to reduce our municipal budget slightly for the fiscal year 2021, right? So maybe not only, so we've stayed flat, relatively speaking, the last 4 years, and we are going down a little bit this year, and maybe for the next fiscal year, we'll be able to go down even more, but that is
Yet to be determined.
yet to be determined. So the tax rate, using all the numbers, the total tax rate for the homestead will be $2.4785 per $1,000 of assessed value. And that is a 1% decrease. Non-residential tax rate will be $2.3655, which is just under 1% increase in taxes. So we need to raise, where's the number, the amount of money we need to raise? We need to raise $850,000 and $850,597 in taxes for the highway, and $1,033,237 for municipal, and the education, I don't know what that number works out to be. So,
And we don't get the details to figure out that number.
we don't. So we have, so I would entertain a motion to
I so
set the
move.
tax rate at 2.4785 for homestead and 2.3655 for non-residential.
I so move.
You do so move. Thank you, Richard.
I shall second.
Thank you, Miranda. Are there any questions or discussions? No.
No.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Guilford Free Library Grant Resolution Agreement, Peter.
Sorry.
Where is that?
Miranda seconded that one.
I did.
Thank you. So, this is kind of one of a funny situation. So, well, we have a situation with our library that we're not technically supposed to make public yet because the state has not made it public, but yet the select board is asked to make a motion to approve this document out here. And so our library has received a municipal planning grant to do some planning about their expansion, which is congratulations to the library. And
The potential expansion.
the potential expansion, correct. Thank you for the correction, Richard. So, with that, one of the documents that is required for this grant is a grant resolution agreement by the town select board. And it states, whereas the town of Guilford has applied for funding under the Vermont Community Development Program as provided for in 10 VSA Chapter 29 and has received an award of funds under said provisions, and whereas the Agency of Commerce and Community Development has tendered a grant agreement, a long string of numbers and letters I'm not going to read, to this municipality for said funding, now therefore be resolved as follows. This legislative body of this municipality accepts and agrees to the terms and conditions of said grant agreement, and two, names Peter Rude, Town Administrator, is the designated as a person with overall administrative responsibility for the VCDP activities related to this agreement, and three, that Peter Rude, Town Administrator, who is either Chief Executive Officer or Town Manager, City Manager, or Town Administrator, is designated as the authorizing official to execute this grant agreement and other such documents as may be necessary to secure these funds. This is passed this 22nd day of July of 2019, and it lists each of the select board members and requests their signature.
I move
You
that.
can't.
You cannot, you need to recuse yourself.
I'm gonna make a motion.
You are.
I am. I move that we accept the Guilford Free Library Grant Resolution Agreement.
I will second.
Thank you, Michael. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. He's out of it.
He needs to verbally say it though.
Would you
I
please?
recuse myself
Thank you, sir. So
Due
while,
to,
due to the fact that I am a trustee of the Guilford Free Library.
thank you for clarifying.
so while we are signing that, we're gonna pass that around and sign it. The next item on the agenda is the internal, I have to look at it
We
this
have to
way.
look it upside down.
The internal financial controls checklist for municipalities. This is a 18
Japan needs to sign this.
I don't know how many-
Yes, I shall kindly do it.
line checklist, which talks about how the which details how the municipality executes checks and balances. And this is something that Penny has been required to sign and submit every year. The select board this year is required
What I
to
did.
sign.
Appoint the select board chair.
The select board this
To
year is
sign.
required to appoint the select board chair to sign that we have reviewed this and we agree with her submissions.
Do you need a motion?
We do. You need to appoint me.
I so move that we appoint Sheila.
I will second.
Thank you.
May I amend your motion slightly to that you agree with Penny's assessment of the financial controls?
I agree with Penny's assessment of the financial controls document,
And
and I
give
appoint,
Sheila
and we
authority to
appoint
sign it.
Sheila to the authority to
Thank you.
sign.
You seconded?
I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No, you can't.
No, I can't do that.
So if Sheila could sign that for me.
So we only have 3 of us there. The next thing is the library and the BBC survey. Rick Zamor, do you want to speak to that?
Why don't you come here, Rick?
May I approach the committee?
We don't need a motion
What is this,
for
a town
that.
meeting?
Well, first of all, I gotta applaud your level of civility here in your exchanges here. It's quite wonderful. I'll try to maintain it, although I'm a little annoyed because I'm not sure why I'm here. I got like 1 minute of your time that I need. The BBCC is undertaking phase 2 of the construction, the renovation, fundraising, to be done next year, fundraising this year, construction next year. We've hired, hired Stevens Associates to do the civil engineering and not the architecture. We've got a new architect because Stevens is too busy to do it. Civil engineering includes Act 250 permit for which we need to map the abutters, wells, and septics.
Oh,
So the distance from their systems to our proposed systems, and that includes the library, which the town owns. So I need your permission for Stevens to come and measure the distance from your well and septic at the library to our septic system on the Anthony lot and our well, which will be on the north side of the BBCC. And that's why I'm
Do
here.
we need a motion for that? I so move.
Is there a second?
oh, certainly, yes.
Are there any questions?
Being that I work for Stevens Associates, should I not vote on this?
Yes.
I think you should
Okay,
recuse yourself. We talked about the sewer in 2018. This is just finally getting to that with,
This is simply for the Act 250 permit application.
Mhm.
So that we, in the application, we can state the location of the library, septic, and well, relative to what we're proposing to do. That's all this is. This is not about connecting the two sources,
Yeah. Okay.
septics or anything else.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded that one?
Miranda.
Miranda
And Michael,
recused himself.
well, he has to say it.
He did say it.
Oh, he did say
Do I
it.
recuse or abstain? Or
You can
is
do
that the
either
same
one.
thing? I'll abstain.
Okay.
It's very
We
original.
voted, right?
Well, that might make it sound like we're not in favor, but
Yeah, I think you recuse yourself.
I'll go
Yeah,
recuse.
just recuse.
Thank you,
Take
Mr.
it.
Just
Zane.
wanted
Noted.
to exercise your
Always a
option.
pleasure to see you.
may I
Thank
be
you for
excused?
staying
And
so
thank
long.
you so
Yeah.
much for coming on this.
He wants to go home now.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm just coming from 3 hours of my hospice patient.
Oh dear.
Oh,
And he's there.
Go home and
Okay.
have a glass of
thank
wine.
you, Rick.
I believe that we will postpone the Wyndham Regional Commission update to another meeting.
I think that's
There's
very
nobody here
wise.
tonight to talk about that.
I don't
And
think anybody will complain about that.
I will do the warrants because I've gone through them. And Gordon's not here to do it, so. I move that we authorize payroll for the week ending July 14, 2019 in the amount of $6,029.06 and payroll for the week ending July 21st, 2019 in the amount of $6,713.89. Expense warrant number 2002 in the amount of $37,289.55 and expense warrant expense warrant FW02 in the amount of $140 for a total of $50,172.50. And there is nothing remarkable in the $37,000.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
I will start signing in a minute, but I'm looking for it, Peter.
Yep.
Okay, so I would like entertain a motion that premature knowledge of discussions could potentially put the town at significant disadvantage.
Are you doing the motion or are you
I
asking?
would
for-
entertain a
Oh,
motion.
sorry.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And now I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session at 8:10 PM and invite Peter Root to join to discuss a grievance other than a tax grievance per one VSA. You're typing too fast for me to keep up with your numbers, Peter.
Sorry.
Section 313A1D.
So moved.
Richard, thank you.
Second.
Veranda, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We will enter into executive session at 8:11 PM. Communication. on the matter. Do we need a motion?
No, not to request communication. You're
Okay.
taking no action.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, so what are we on
Communications, we're
now?
on communications.
Sheila, do you want do your communication? Here's this one that you requested.
I got it. Okay, so the first thing is we got an email from the Town Officers Education Conferences, which is really from VCRD, Vermont Council on Rural Development, suggesting that somebody go to an August 12th meeting at Vermont Technical College in Randolph regarding community success and community leadership. And
I looked through the agenda and it seemed like a lot of
You've
things
been
that
there
we've
before.
already participated
Right.
in.
So, but it's follow-up. So I didn't know if anybody, I'm not gonna be able to do it, and I didn't know if anybody else wanted to.
I can't do it.
So I just was gonna recommend that we consider that. We don't need to take any action on it.
Do you have any interest in going, Michael?
It's a day thing, Michael.
Is it a weekday?
It's August 12th, I don't know.
A
That's
Monday,
It's
it's
a
a select
Monday.
board
Yeah, I
meeting.
would not be.
Oh, no, it's a select board
It's a
meeting.
select board meeting, you
Okay.
need to be
Okay,
here.
I will pass on that.
And the second thing is we had from VLCT an offer from Karen Horn or somebody else, I don't have the whole thing, to come and talk to the select board at some point this fall about issues important to local government. So she's highlighted self-governance, municipal charters, marijuana legalization, clean water requirements, and transportation funding. I'm not sure that those things are all critical in Guilford, but she also highlighted economic development, funding local infrastructure projects, mounting burden of property taxes, and any other issues. So I just was going to suggest that as a group, you think about whether sometime in the fall you want to invite them.
I'd like to invite them. She also emphasized to not worry about it and enjoy your summer.
Yes,
Yes.
she did that.
No, so she doesn't want people to come now, but, she doesn't want to come now, but she's in there, we're volunteering, and I want to make a note of that.
Will she communicate with us again?
No, you need to
We need
now
to
drive
reach out
it.
to her. She's put the ball
So
in
can
her.
we put that on somewhere where we don't lose it? Because I think it might be interesting to hear what she says.
Would you like me to follow up with her in September or October?
But the select board needs to say what issues,
yeah.
like
Issues, yes.
how,
Mm.
like broadband infrastructure might be an issue that it's, Sarah Coffey's working on it, BDCC is working on it, so,
We need to
maybe
be
that's
specific if we
something.
wanted her to go.
Yes.
Okay, but we don't want to lose, we may want her to come, so how do we, without communicating to her, you just put it on there?
I'll put it on the tickler list.
Okay, good.
So, and then you have a ton of them also, Peter.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, first, very briefly and easily, the Guilford Volunteer Fire Department trustees and, would like to invite all select board members to their annual meeting occurring on Monday, August the 12th at 6:30 PM at the fire station.
We're in this,
We're in select board
Unfortunately,
meeting.
we are in the select board meeting at that time, but they will have refreshments afterwards.
So would you please say that we can't because
I
we're in
will
the
thank them
select
for
board
the
meeting?
invitation,
Yeah.
but let them know, yes.
And if they wanted to schedule it on a non-select board meeting, but it's their, obviously it's their annual meeting.
It's their annual
so-
meeting.
Yeah.
The Guilford Fire Department Auxiliary would like to notify the select board that they will be having their annual boot drop again in front of the fire station from 7:30 till 2:30 on Monday, the 2nd of September. As always, the participants will be wearing orange vests and the area will be marked with signage and cones. If you have any questions, please contact the auxiliary.
When is Ruck Up? October?
Yes, in
So
October.
they're two different.
2 different
boot
months.
drops. Okay.
Yep. That's the situation between the church and Ruck Up. But we have not had a request from Ruck Up this year to hold the event as of yet, and normally that comes in the spring.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not going to gloss over the fun details of this, but we received something I've never seen before from Wyndham County Humane Society, and this is their monthly town report for animals received from Guilford. They received 3 dogs and about 43 cats.
Oh my goodness.
Thank
40.
I'm being a little bit exaggerated.
Oh.
There, if you 16 cats.
Is this something we should be getting in the folder? Just as a, then you don't
I
have to.
don't know. We just got this.
I've never seen anything.
I've never seen this before.
Never seen anything like it.
Animal name, French horn, trumpet.
Okay, let's move along.
Moving
Oh my
along,
goodness.
we received a notice, which due to its great length, I'm going to put this on the town website as a PDF, but we received notice from our Rural Delivery U.S. Postal Service for Northern New England District that explains some things about the appropriate mail receptacles to use.
That should be on the website.
Yes, as well as how and where to locate your mail delivery address on the box or on your house or other. Yeah, it's very lengthy, but it's important because apparently our region has been having many difficulties getting appropriate mail to appropriate people.
I think they should put that in people's mailboxes.
That's a good idea. If they
And
can find them.
Yeah.
the
They
Southern
deliver to
Vermont,
houses.
so SEVEDS, the Southern Vermont Economy Development Project, sent out their annual report to you all, and so
And we got
We
that
got it in by
an
email.
email too.
I just wanted to share with the town. So it
Thank
talks
you.
about all the work that they have done, if anyone is interested. And that's all just documents related to
It's
them.
my turn now.
I have nothing else.
Thank you. Richard was
Madam
asking.
Chair, I'd like to motion for adjournment.
I will
You-
second.
You move that we adjourn at 8:32 p.m.?
I do.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank
Thank
you,
you.
And thank
Madam
everybody for
Chair.
being so patient. I know this was a long
We had a
meeting
lot of
tonight.
business.